This season will be remembered not only for the exciting matches in many leagues and European tournaments, but also for the transfers of footballers to various clubs. When your favorite club signs a new player, you hope that they will immediately improve the game and help achieve success, but very often player transfers can be unsuccessful for one reason or another. But which players' transfers can be considered unsuccessful this season? One of the first players who comes to mind is Gravenberch, whom Liverpool signed for €40 million from Bayern. He occasionally showed a really good level of play, but paying so much for a player who doesn't particularly influence the team's game is questionable. By nature, he is a classic central midfielder who, if necessary, can play as a defensive midfielder. In Bayern, he played alongside Goretzka, who helped mask the weaknesses of the Dutchman, but at Liverpool, they played with only one. Another Liverpool signing, Japanese player Wataru Endo, who was bought for just €20 million, has shown himself to be much better in his position than the Dutch player. Endo didn't fit into Klopp's game system right away, but eventually he adapted himself to the manager's requirements. However, Gravenberch couldn't fully integrate into Klopp's game structure. Over time, Jurgen started using him as an 8, but he looked weaker than Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones. Despite still being believed in to improve his game, so far in 36 games for the club, he has only scored 4 times and provided 2 assists, but also didn't show himself as a good passer or help in the attack build-up. Liverpool has many great midfielders, and for now, I don't see where Gravenberch could shine, but with the arrival of Arne Slot to the team this summer, everything could change for him. So let's see if he can rehabilitate himself next season. Meanwhile, across the park, we have Everton, whose season was a hell of a ride, especially with constant points deductions thanks to financial fair play. This season, the club needed a good forward, and they signed Beto from Udinese for €25 million. Questions about his transfer immediately arose among the fans, as the Portuguese footballer scored 13 goals in 44 matches in the Portuguese league, while in Italy, he scored only 21 goals in 62 matches. I understand that the Brexit style of Sean Dyche is specific and requires specific players, but it was still a questionable decision as this season showed. In his first 9 matches, Beto didn't score or assist, which made him an important player for the bench he warms. The Portuguese forward now mostly comes off the bench, and in 36 matches, he scored 5 goals and made 2 assists. What the €25 million were paid for remains a mystery, and Everton's management needs to start thinking carefully about how they spend money. But Manchester United should also think about this. They spent €202 million on transfers this season, and 2 of them were flops. These were Sofiane Amrabat and Mason Mount. The Moroccan was only loaned, which saved them money, but the player himself simply doesn't match the Premier League level of play despite his efforts. However, the transfer of the English attacking midfielder for £55 million is simply a disaster. His last season at Chelsea was very average, but everyone thought that with a change of environment, he could regain his former level. Ten Hag's belief in his abilities and persistence in signing the player were appealing and inspiring not only for the Red Devils fans, but also for many experts. But personally, it didn't seem like a very good idea to me back then. Ten Hag said he saw Mason as a player who could play deeper in the team's build-up play. Unfortunately, what I suspected happened. Mount couldn't become an important player in the team's starting lineup, and the role that Ten Hag entrusted to him, he couldn't fulfill properly. In addition to this, injuries played their role, causing him to miss 27 games, but when he played, he didn't bring any benefit to the team, and his strong qualities seemed to deteriorate with the move to Manchester United. Peter Drury's words fit perfectly in Mason's case. The boy who had a dream went into the theater of dreams, and he's now having nightmares. The same can be said about Chelsea itself, where nightmares are unfolding with many talents they signed this summer. Many didn't understand why they needed so many players in the squad and for such mind-blowing money. Moises Caicedo was bought from Brighton for £100 million. They also acquired a rotation player for his position, Romeo Lavia from Southampton, for £53 million, which is madness in itself. Caicedo eventually managed to adapt to the chaos happening at the club, but Lavia played only 1 match and simply disappeared. Yes, he had an injury, but even when he was healthy, it seemed like everyone just forgot about him at the club. Additionally, the signings of Ugochukwu for €27 million and Nicholas Jackson, for whom they paid £32 million, the latter might not sit well with many Chelsea fans. In 41 matches, Jackson scored 16 goals and made 6 assists, but compared to Villarreal, Chelsea created far more goal-scoring opportunities for him. However, with the team's recent performances, there is a slight hope that he will be able to prove himself in the next season. Although rumors of Victor Osimhen potentially joining the club make his future at Chelsea unclear, Christopher Nkunku, for whom they paid £52 million, should also be mentioned here. He played only 10 matches and scored 2 goals this season, missing most of it due to injuries. For the next season, Chelsea should not only focus on strengthening the squad, but also on hiring the best medical staff and a competent sporting director who will work in tandem with the manager to acquire players truly needed by the club, as the current situation seems like a gamble. Trust me, Newcastle's midfielder Sandro Tonali has a few words about it. For the Italian Italian midfielder was paid €64 million, and everyone hoped that he would be able to form a strong midfield duo with Bruno Guimaraes. He showed a very good level of play at the beginning of the season, and Newcastle really looked like a contender to claim the 4th place in the Premier League, but in October, it emerged that the player had huge gambling problems. He was suspended from football for 10 months, which greatly disrupted the team's progress and Ittihad's game plans, as the Italian was a key player in the team's build-up play. No one at the club was prepared for this, and the club began to play inconsistently and may well miss out on European competitions next season. Over time, it also turned out that Sandro Tonali was betting not only while being a player at AC Milan but also continued to do so after moving to England. For Newcastle, this is a strong blow to their reputation, but Tonali himself destroys his personal reputation as an unreliable footballer with his behavior. It's a pity that such a talented footballer has huge problems with gambling. But for now, let's return to Manchester. This time City's transfer for which they paid £53 million to Wolverhampton, and that's Matheus Nunes. Frankly speaking, it's still unclear why Guardiola needed him, as his passing and ball interception skills are very average. The only thing that could have attracted Guardiola is his ability to advance the ball on dribbling, in which aspect he was very strong. However, Mateo Kovacic was also bought in the same position for £25 million, with similar characteristics, much stronger in other individual aspects and more experienced. In every position at Man City there are many quality players, and the purchase of the Portuguese looks unclear, both for the club and for the player, whose level is clearly below Man City's. He played 31 matches and made 5 assists in all tournaments, but he didn't stand out with anything special, and it's evident that the player isn't progressing at the club, one of the stupidest transfers City has ever made. But now I would like to draw your attention to those who have been flocking to play in Saudi Arabia. Many of those who signed multi-million-dollar contracts failed there. Roberto Firmino, Demarai Gray, Jota, Gabriel Vega, and Jordan Henderson, who fled from there to Ajax, where he also plays poorly. But this list also includes 2 world-class players, Neymar and Karim Benzema. The Brazilian has been the luckiest so far because he is often injured and doesn't play much, but at the same time, he receives €160 million a year, making him the 3rd highest paid athlete in the world. He moved to Al Hilal for €90 million and has played only 5 matches so far, scoring a goal and making 3 assists. It's clear that Neymar is no longer interested in football as such, but it was also a terrible investment for the league's marketing because 5 matches in the league mean nothing. But the transfer of the Ballon d'Or winner, Karim Benzema, to Al Ittihad, which was a championship-winning team before, destroyed it from within with his behavior. He had a conflict with the team's manager, Nuno Espirito Santo, which led to the club firing him, although the team was not playing poorly, but after that the club started playing even worse, and Benzema did not want to play and accused the players around him of not playing enough for him. In 29 matches he scored 13 goals and made 8 assists, which is not bad, but the players' attitude toward the club and players is very strained. Benzema simply disappeared from the club for 2 weeks without a valid reason. After that he was sidelined from training with the main squad and assigned an individual program, but the Frenchman simply went home. In addition to this, it turned out that he regretted his move to Saudi Arabia and would like to leave the club, but his salary of €200 million obliges him to see out his contract to the end. But who is the worst transfer of this season in your opinion? It will be interesting to read your takes in the comment section. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out my other videos such as football clubs, friendships, and the celebrities who own football clubs. My name is Ole, love this game. I'll see you next time.